which is the idea that men will fall in love once deeply and they will never experience that type of feeling of love again. And I can tell you from personal experience that that is absolutely true, and it's a sentiment that I think a lot of men will also agree with, right? It's the idea that you meet someone that you fall deeply in love with, and you'll kind of go through an experience where the relationship ends and you feel the deepest sense of grief for that person, and it just feels that anybody else that you try to be with after that point, it no longer feels the same, because you know that that feeling, that euphoria that you felt previously can't be replicated because the conditions aren't the same. And I think for me, that was from my own personal experience when I went through that. I actually think it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because it happened kind of in my mid-20s. And to me, off of the back of that, there were certain changes that happened, right? I mean, first and foremost, I became far less emotional. I found that I became emotionless, to be honest, which I think when it came to kind of navigating my career, to setting up my business, to just making really good quality, sensible decisions as I was going through kind of the back end of my 20s, going through that heartbreak made that incredibly easy. It made it really easy for me to make good quality decisions as I was going through the back end of my 20s, whether that was the friends that I chose to associate with, whether that was decisions that I made from a career standpoint, whether that was just the overall ability to take a step back from everything and just understand where everything's up to. That was kind of the first key change. I think for me, the other thing is when I did go through a heartbreak, I found that I wanted to spend a lot of time by myself, because I think when the relationship does end, you naturally take a step back to understand what you could have done better, and also understand what your own personal shortcomings are. You know, if you've lost someone and you realise that you don't want to be with anybody else, and you never want to be with anybody else, then it forces you to really kind of take a step back and seriously work on yourself and seriously understand what your inadequacies are. Whether for me at the time it was a lack of confidence, whether it was the fact that maybe financially I could have been in a much better position than I was at the time, and thankfully I've got to that point now. Whatever it might be, and it's going to change from person to person. There's not a right or wrong answer, by the way. But I think for me, they were kind of the two biggest changes, was becoming less emotional and being able to think more objectively in terms of how I handle situations.